pronouns are they, them. I identify as trans non-binary.
And this is my story at EDS. In like 8th grade, 9th grade, I guess I was like really struggling with my father leaving when I was younger, and he became like distant from me, and I wanted his attention back, and so I started to look up ways basically to engage in that sort of behavior. And so for a really long time I always thought I wanted my eating disorder because I looked it up online in a way. But I think that also because I was just seeking help from anyone but didn't know how to voice it, like in a way that I can like control myself, and maybe someone would pick up that I was struggling was to like self-harm myself with my eating disorder. And so when I was younger and I actively seeked out information about EDS, I was looking up all sorts of things of like pro-ana and thinspo, and I feel like a lot of people look at that kind of stuff. And I had like a friend, and we would encourage each other to lose weight and to starve, and really the whole thing. I would also look up books at Barnes & Noble as a kid, looking for more information on eating disorders. I would read young adult novels, fiction that were about eating disorders. I would try to pick up tips from them. I tried like chew and spitting. I tried purging. I did everything I could to deal with how I was feeling without saying a word about it. And I also had a friend that was really close to my age, and I thought that she was perfect, and I wanted to be just like her. And she was pretty, and all the boys liked her, and her mom put her on diet pills, and I was like, that is what I need. So I remember asking my mom when I was in the ninth grade if I could be on a diet pill. So after I tried like the diet pills and I didn't like them, I just resorted into skipping lunch every day at school. My friend did that. She just drank a bottle of water, and I was like, okay, I can do that too. It kind of went away, and during high school, and then when I went to college, also felt like I had to go to college. Like as soon as I graduated high school, all my friends were going straight into college. I felt like I wasn't able to take like a year off and figure out myself. I just like went straight into it. I really didn't feel like I could feed myself. I really didn't think that I could live off campus and cook for myself. I really think that looking back on it, that was part of my eating disorder, like coming out in a way of like, yeah, you can't live off campus. Yeah, you absolutely can't go shopping for yourself. You're afraid of driving. You can't do any of these things. You have to stay here. My biggest fear of graduating was, how do I take care of myself? I am 23 years old. I am fresh from college. I'm going, I graduated, and I was like, how in the hell I'm going to survive? And I felt like, okay, I can buy food for like 2 weeks, but I noticed my eating disorder would come back out sometimes. I didn't even realize it was a behavior to avoid going grocery shopping, because I was so afraid of like going outside that I didn't want to leave my apartment, because my personality at the time was very like timid and shy, and I didn't believe in myself. I didn't have any self-confidence, any self-worth. So my ed kind of like came and went. I didn't even really think of it as a problem. To me, like I actively seeked out my eating disorder when I was like 14, 15. So I didn't really feel like I had an eating disorder. But looking back now, I do see myself where I would struggle and I would depend on it because it made me feel better. It made me give my life purpose when I didn't feel like I had any purpose. Like my life was hopeless and I had nothing to offer, so I would just go straight into my ed. And that was very difficult for me. I was already in a fragile state. I was already skipping work. My life didn't feel like it was good anymore. So all of this was going on, and it didn't help that I was watching America's Next Top Model a couple months previously, because that really affected my eating disorder, even though I never even called it an ed at the time. Just seeing people compare their bodies looking a certain way. I felt like I had to look a certain way. And I really feel like that fueled me to dive deeper into my ed because I was so depressed, so anxious. I didn't really see like the harm in going in deeper into my eating disorder. I think maybe even before then, I was already restricting without even noticing it, because it's so easy for me to fall into that trap of like, okay, my life is worthless, I am depressed, I'm using drugs to cope, I am doing escapism, I'm in video games all day, I'm in my pajamas, I'm not leaving the house. All of these things were a perfect storm for me to fall back into my ed, and deeply. It happened so fast. I avoided food at all costs. I avoided the smell. I avoided people eating in front of me because I ate in isolation. Though I felt like, I could hide a little bit and also lie about how much I was eating, because I wasn't eating that much. Because I felt like I justified myself, I judged myself so harshly, I felt like I deserved to stop eating, essentially. I had a friend at the time who I found out also struggles with an eating disorder. He is my pal online. He was the first person to call it out, to say what it is. One had really told me, hey, you have an eating disorder. Did you know that? And I was like, in complete denial. I was like, there's just no way I have an eating disorder, because how can I have an eating disorder if I deserve to stop eating? My friend, he would check on me like every day. He would ask me, are you eating? Did you eat today? It felt nice to be like checked up on, because my boyfriend then, we were then married. He would never check in on me. He did not know. I did not want him to know. I was perfectly fine with confiding in my online friend who was in another country, who couldn't check on me physically. I didn't confide in anyone else. I didn't feel like I could tell my spouse what was happening to me, because he would probably dismiss it. I was terrified. There were many things I found that we had in common, that he could relate to me and I could speak to him about it. He did convince me to tell my spouse, and I did tell him, hey, I am struggling with an eating disorder, but I don't need your help. I got it. I didn't have it at all. But I was just like so content with doing what I was doing, still using drugs to cope, still struggling through depression, anxiety, not seeing a therapist, but talking to my friend like he was a therapist. He wasn't. We were both unhealthy, emotionally. So it was a really like a kind of like a toxic friendship. I got my first eating disorder therapist, sort of like, she mostly did addiction, and she didn't really think that my eating disorder was like the main problem at first. It's not her specialty, but she knows about them. And so she did kind of help me. I worked through my feelings about it with her until, I was also weighing myself more frequently. I was like going down the rabbit hole. Like, I found the scale in my spouse's room. Every time he would leave the apartment, I would immediately grab it and weigh, because I was like, I have to know how much, because I was at a point in my eating disorder of I would go without food for as long as possible. I was only drinking water and like sweet tea at the time, or even tried to even go without water. And then I was just like, let's try to go 24 hours without eating. I made it 6 days. 6 days without food, period. It was horrible. It was going to be like a test of endurance for me. And I just remember talking to my therapist. I was like, hey, so I've been restricting for 6 days today, and I don't know how to stop. And my therapist also begged me to sign ROIs, release of information, for my spouse and my mom, because it was getting to a point where she was like, I can no longer help you. What you did to yourself over these 6 days is too intense for me to deal with. Like, I'm not trained in eating disorders. You have to see an eating disorder therapist. and you have to seek treatment. My dietitian, she said she's in a Facebook group for dietitians, and someone there had mentioned this place. I went to their website. I saw that they had they mentioned the word transgendered on their website. I was completely blown away. They say that they treat all genders. I was just like stunned. I was like, finally, somewhere that could treat people like me with respect. So when I went to the EDS website, I think there's like a little heart with a rainbow, and I was like, yes, okay, this place is for me. And plus I saw an interview with a past staff member. They're non-binary, and I was like, okay, if someone is on staff that is non-binary, someone like me that I can relate to, that can help me through my ed, yes, perfect. I was so excited. I really just wanted to be believed that I had an eating disorder and that it was real. Because to me, a lot of my head was like, I'm in denial. I was still in denial. Like for 2 years, I didn't believe it. I think reminding yourself of your goals, what you want to achieve, is extremely important. Because for me, when I got here, I knew the place I was in. I knew the place that I wanted to be in, but I didn't know how to do the middle part. I didn't know how to do the journey. Not really knowing that part was really scary because, for me, I just wanted to get to the end. I just wanted to do it, already be healed and in the package with a bow and everything like that. And once I felt more comfy here, felt comfortable going to my therapist, both of my therapists, all the therapists, the insight that they would give me, the feedback that they would give me, the fact that they believed in me, they believed that I had an eating disorder. I have felt more comfortable standing up for myself, going to different things, like other clients would lift me up. I don't remember exactly the turn in my recovery, but I just remember accepting praise from people is very difficult for me. Kind of goes through one ear and out the other. But I remember speaking up in group one time and telling another client of the progress that they made and reminding them of that. And my old therapist was like, well, if you can do that for someone else, you can do that for yourself. Just feeling confident again, and this confidence I have never felt before. And yeah, I'm eating 100% and trying to focus on me. Self-compassion was a really big lesson that I learned here. And I've heard, speaking to yourself as you would a friend, using my coping skills. It sounds cheesy, but they do really work. I would say it is extremely difficult to seek help when you don't feel like you deserve it. I definitely didn't feel like I deserved to get better because of the situation I was in, where my life was going. I was unemployed. I felt extremely stuck. I felt like I deserved it. You really do have to look inside and get help for yourself. As a people pleaser, I understand you want to do it to help other people, but in order for me to live my life the way I want to, I had to look inside and believe that I deserved to get better. Because people would tell me I deserve to feel better, I deserve to seek help, and I didn't really believe it. When you do come to a place of residential care or PHP, IOP, things like that, that you will be surrounded by people who do care. And sometimes that can be hard because you're like, I don't deserve all this care. But please do remind yourself that you are deserving of care and that your life really does matter. And that it sounds cliche, but things do get better. At the time of being here, I was reading The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, and I chose that book to bring with me because it's an adventure book, and I felt like I was going on an adventure, and that Bilbo and me were similar. Just the fact that Bilbo was able to leave his home of comfort, the Hobbit Hill and the Shire, and that he was able to take a leap of faith with a bunch of dwarves that he didn't really know. For him to go on the adventure and to go through trials and tribulations, and just the fact at the beginning of Lord of the Rings, he gives Frodo the ring, no other being is able to do that, to give up something so tempting. And I think that really does speak to eating disorder treatment of you have to give up your eating disorder in order to get better. And that was very difficult for me because my eating disorder was my best friend. It was there for me all throughout my life, even if I didn't realize it. It was there for me. It comforted me. It told me I was safe, but it was hurting me. It was killing me. And to come to that realization was difficult to accept, but I do feel a lot stronger. I feel like I can recognize my voice versus the ED voice. I know coping skills, which I didn't know before. I feel really supported by my friends here and by the staff here. They told me, I believe in you. You can do it. You've made so much progress in these couple of weeks. You did like a 180. Your voice is louder. I really feel that change. Like even now, I'm just like, wow, I'm like talking. I feel like I am allowed to be myself here. Like they encouraged me. I love that we are able to go outside whenever we want to. That we have groups outside. I feel really connected with the other clients. Like I love getting new people because to see the transformation in myself and to see that I know that they're going to be transformed by this process. And that's why it sucks to leave because I won't be able to see it in them. But we exchange phone numbers, and I also am an artist, and I like to, right now I'm painting, and I'm encouraged to paint. I paint during group, and I am like the main reason that I wanted to do this interview, not only for myself, because I am changed, and I want to show that, and I also really want to show another person out there that is like me, that is trans, or trans non-binary, or just like gender fluid or anything like that, that they are queer and that they are accepted here. There was a moment like when I went outside when I was new here and I saw a rock, because you get to paint a rock when you get discharged, and it has the intersex symbol and also the trans pride flag painted on it, and just seeing that gave me so much hope. Like there were other past clients that were trans or non-binary, intersex, and were queer, and they survive. They overcome their eating disorder, and there is a huge overlap with eating disorder and LGBTQIA people. And I really feel like more education needs to be spoken about them because that is not the narrative in eating disorder recovery at all. Part of my goals of recovery is to get to a place where I am financially stable, emotionally stable, to where I can medically transition. That is my goal. And keeping my goals in mind while my process of being here, I feel like I am closer to my goals. I feel so ecstatic that my future can look different and that my life can be different, because my life was so stuck where I was before. I was basically in a marriage where I don't feel accepted. We are separating. I want to live on my own. I want to adopt a cat. I want to start HRT. And I want other people that are queer to know that there is someone like them that went through this process. And I want them to come here. I want them to be happy, and I want them to find their purpose and advocate for themselves, because really advocating for myself with just my pronouns when I first got here has really given me a backbone in order for myself to assert what I want, to say what I need, to know that my wants and needs are important and my feelings do matter, my life matters, and I am whole and complete. Like I just love it so much. Like I just really want to help other people. I feel like that is my dream, to use like art and advocacy for other people that are like me. And I never really felt like I could accomplish my dreams because I would rather die from my eating disorder than to live my life. Now I'm in a place where I am just full of like hope, where hope wasn't there before. And I just want someone to see this and be like, that's like me, and I can come there and I can thrive. So I'm just so excited. That's all.